Boy, Zoom has gotten busy, hasn't it? It seems like little upgrades along the way. When you come on Zoom, all these little things come up and say, AI's helping you out. Hey, we're transcribing this, blah, blah, blah. All these things are blowing across the screen. It was so straightforward back when we first learned about this app.
Well, I'm showing 10 o'clock and we do have a quorum, I believe. Is that correct? Are we live streaming, I assume?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'd like to call the November 20th, 2025 Kansas Post-Secondary Technical Education Authority meeting to order. As a reminder, please mute your microphones. TEA members, board staff, and institutional staff who have comments or questions should ask to be recognized. Everyone other than the recognized speaker should keep their microphone muted. Each time you're recognized to speak, please state your name and your title before you begin so that we can readily identify by listeners as well as observers. Moving on to the meeting, we do have a couple agenda changes, and then I'll ask for if there are any others. But because I think a few members may need to leave early today, we're going to move the consent agenda and discussion item number 4. Both of those we need to take action on. So we're going to move those up right after approval, or right after the introductions, or before the reports, so we can make sure we have enough people to get those voted on. Are there any other changes or additions? Well, hearing not, the minutes are in your materials, and I assume you've had a chance to read those. Are there any changes to those minutes? And if not, is there a motion to approve?
Curtis moves to approve.
Is there a second?
This is Mike. I'll second.
Thanks. Moved and seconded. Any opposed to approving the minutes? Hearing none, minutes are approved.
Chair Rice, I believe you are muted right now. I apologize for interrupting.
Excuse me. Are there any, did we get the motion passed? Okay. Are there any introductions this morning? Okay, hearing none, let's go to the consent agenda. And Mike or Cindy, I think Cindy, Mike was absent, but Cindy or Mike, do you have any items or comments you want to make before we approve the consent agenda?
No, we went through that in the programs meeting, and everything was pretty straightforward. Lots of good work on this, all of this activity, both by staff, and I was really impressed with the amount of background and support from companies on the programs we supported. So would recommend approval of those.
Is there a second?
This is Mike. I'll second. And thank you, Cindy, for chairing the committee.
Moved and seconded. Are there anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. And then we'll go to the discussion item number 4. And I will call on Dr. Vera Brown, Director of Career Technical Education, for your information on Act on Credit for Prior Learning Grant Letter of Support.
Good morning, Chair Rice and members of the authority. It is my privilege today to present our idea for a grant application and ask for your support. The Council for Adult and Experiential Learning, or CAEL, is a national leader in working with evaluation and formally recognizing learning that has occurred outside of a classroom. And as you know, we do have a goal this year to evaluate military-originated credit, how we process it, if there are any modernized approaches to this credit for prior learning, and so on. So we would like to put in an application with CAEL for a 2-year learning experience with them, where they would provide technical assistance to our system. They're experts, and we would like to revisit what we already do well find gaps if needed, supply solutions, and then scale the new system to our institutions. As part of this grant, we would receive a stipend to be able to participate in some of the national convenings, as well as meetings and any organizational pieces that we need to bring to the table. We would have calls and peer learning opportunities with other states. And CAEL will provide us assistance with policy, with data methodologies, and also understanding how to advertise these opportunities and so on. Our grant application would need an advisory team, and we have several representatives from KBOR staff and also representatives of the universities, the technical colleges, and the community colleges in the credit for prior learning space. In our state, we have in board policy a designated Kansas Credit for Prior Learning task force that meets regularly, and we have members of the task force on the advisory committee. So today we are asking the authority to support us in this effort and provide a letter that we can include with our application that would hopefully help us be more competitive. It is included in your packet on page 42. And if there are any edits you would like to provide, please let us know. We would also like to ask you to allow Chair Rice to sign the letter on behalf of the authority. And finally, we would like for the authority to nominate one member of the TEA to serve on the Grant Advisory Committee. That, of course, would not limit the involvement of the TEA with this project. We would bring updates and welcome any input from any other members that would like to participate with us. The commitment of that one member representative would include, of course, meetings, mostly virtual. This is the world we live in. Also, there is one national convening per year that would need to be attended, and then there would be an on-site visit from CAEL to our state, so it'll probably be in our office. That is all the information that I have at this time, but I will stand for any questions.
Well, Curtis will move that the TEA send that letter and that David sign it.
Is there a second?
I second it. It's Deb.
Is there any other further discussion or questions of Dr. Brown? Okay, we've had a move and second. Are there anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Are you wanting us to appoint someone today, or?
Yes, the deadline is tomorrow, so we're hoping to have someone appointed today so that we can onboard them. And I don't know how this happens, but we're just in time, hopefully.
I don't know if there's someone interested. I don't feel like I'm the appropriate person on this topic, but there may be somebody that is. I don't. Are there any volunteers, or do you have someone in mind?
David, I would volunteer. This is Deb.
Okay, that would be great. So do we need a motion to appoint Deb, or is this for volunteering just good enough?
It's good enough for me. I don't know what the process requires, so.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
Deborah, you are hereby appointed.
Thank you.
With that, we will go back to our agenda and follow it the rest of the way through. I do not have any introductions or report to make this month. And I know, April, you've been traveling. Do you have anything you want to share with us?
April, I believe you're muted still.
Sorry, we were chatting. So my update, out of the last 4 weeks, I have actually traveled 3 of those. So I have neglected my staff and all other responsibilities, but I have been in North Carolina, working on the Rural Talent Lab. So how do we better serve the rural communities in Kansas? I have visited, let's see, Pratt, Seward, Garden, Dodge, Northwest, Colby. I'm at North Central today, and I'll finish at Cloud tomorrow. On a personal note, my third great nephew was born last night, so I am excited to get home. That's my report for this month.
Thank you. Congratulations. I did skip one item there. So do we have any reports from TEA members on your activities?
Hey, Dave, this is Mike. I had the opportunity to travel up to Beloit, to Fort Hays Tech North Central, and visit Eric and his team for the ribbon cutting of their heavy equipment operator program. Very, very exciting day. And, you know, a lot of this, Eric and his team did a great job with the event, but even prior to that, did a great job with an application for an EDA grant that actually supported the purchase of brand new Caterpillar and John Deere equipment. It was mentioned during the event that this is probably the best equipped program in a 5-state region. Students were excited. It was just a great day, and compliments to Eric and his team at North Central.
Thank you, Mike. Are there any other members with information to share? Okay, let's go on. Report for the community colleges. Dr. Amber Noachin from Cloud County. I'd like to call on you today to give us a report on community colleges.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Great. Thank you. I'm traveling today too. I'm at Emporia State, so thank you for humoring me while I'm doing this in my car. But very happy to report on behalf of the community colleges. You'll see in the report this month, we are still in Pillar 1, which we're highlighting student success. And one of the metrics used in the dashboard on KBOR's website is the credentials earned. And of course, we talk a lot about that with this body and how important it is to really increase the number of credentials earned across all of our sectors. And so I have in there just a chart of community colleges, technical colleges, and then kind of the state universities for 2024. And just interesting to highlight that of that year, 60% of those credentials earned were through the community and technical colleges, which is pretty exciting. And then below that, when you look at each institution, just some of ways that they're improving student success, you'll find some commonalities of, working through extra services through learning centers. It's just dual advising, a CARES team, a lot of wraparound services, early warning systems, really expanding a lot of those services for students. Something that you'll also see in there is even using AI to help support students in a better way. Or, at the end of the program, those that are short a certain number of credits, having some incentives for them to finish as well. Also wanted to highlight that this last month, Barton Community College hosted the Kansas Community College Co-Requisite Symposium. And so 16 of the 19 community colleges were there to just share strategies, exchange some ideas, and really strengthen the English and math co-requisite instruction through some just guided discussion. So we appreciate them hosting that. And then at the bottom of the report, you'll see some press releases. What I would highlight is that I know there were some technical colleges too that will probably be reported in theirs, but we had 4 community colleges in Kansas that were nominated or named as Aspen Prize top 200 institutions. And that was Barton, Coffeyville, Colby, and Cowley. So congratulations to those institutions. And then just lastly, we're all working to log the fall census data collection. That has to be logged by the 21st, which is tomorrow, and then it has to be certified the week of December 1st. And then we're also working through comparisons of the Excel and CTE approved fees from AY26 to those proposed fees for AY27. So we're working to get all of those verifications done and due to Sherman by December 5th. And so then they would be shared with the TA for review in January. That concludes my report, but I would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions for President Noachin? Thank you, Amber. Call on President Greg Nichols now to provide an update for the technical colleges.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. I've had a little technical difficulty, but we're good now. Thanks for the opportunity to discuss what's going on in the technical colleges. We do have a report from that you certainly have in front of you, but a couple of highlights from there. And congratulations to all the colleges that were listed on the Aspen 200. Those colleges are eligible to apply for the award, the $1 million prize from the Aspen Institute. There were 5 of the 7 technical colleges listed on that Aspen 200 list. So congratulations to all of those members of the higher education institutions in the state. Great work by a lot of great people at your institutions, helping students. A couple of other highlights across our sector. We've been really, as a group, focusing on the affordability, making sure that students have the access to attain higher education. I know there's a couple of different examples of that in the report, but Flint Hills and WSU Tech and I think Manhattan Tech talked about their foundations really providing great support through scholarship opportunities. We're going to hold a pretty big fundraiser later in the year, but the need for the talent in the workforce is there. The resources are there for a lot of people, but there's still some barriers that we need to help overcome. So we're excited about those opportunities. There's a bunch of examples of people working with their regional industries throughout our report. We've got an example of that. There's I think it's Washburn working with 80 or more industry partners in their area. We hear often that's kind of what our bread and butter is, working with our industry partners to build that workforce, develop programming. I know throughout the state, everybody through their if they have a Perkins program, the community needs assessment is it's been recently started up at our institution and our region, so it's across the state. And so that's a great aspect to really help hone in on those valuable, high wage, high demand, high need, or critical need jobs that we all talk about all the time. In reference to that, I like diving into the data as a former math teacher, so I did look at the KTIP report for 2025. There's some great things going on across the state. It's kind of amazing. It's not surprising if you hear about it, but over 90, I think it's 92 to 95%, depending upon which of the colleges or the sectors of colleges that offer those technical programs. But the graduation rates are very high, but the job placement rates in those high wage, high demand jobs are tremendous. 92 to 95% of the people that go to those schools are getting jobs that are high wage jobs. That's a great for the Kansas economy. That's what we really have focused on in our sector, but I know the community colleges have a great part to play in that as well. That's a really big thing in all across the state. So we're excited to be part of that talent pipeline, and that includes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for President Nichols? Well, I just want to say I'm always impressed with the community college and technical college reports. There's just lots of good things going on, and you mentioned several of them, and Amber did too. Just relay to your presidents, thank you for the good work, because you're doing good things for Kansas and you're doing good things for students. Thank you. Well, we've already done the consent agenda, so we're going to move on to discussion agenda. And next, I'd like to call on Becky Potabom, Director of Finance and Administration, to provide an update on the fiscal year 2026 state safety funds.
Good morning,
Director
Chair Reese. Good morning, Chair Reese and members of the authority. I'm here with you today to discuss those safety funds. We received two types of safety funds, one for commercial driver's license training, which is offered at both community colleges and technical colleges, and one for motorcycle safety courses, which are taught at the community colleges. Funds are allocated based on student enrollment at each institution. For CDL programs, colleges report their student enrollment directly to KBOR, and for motorcycle safety, the Department of Education collects their enrollment data. For the CDL programs, the revenue received in the previous year is allocated proportionally according to each college's share of the total student enrollment. During academic year 2025, 463 students participated in CDL training programs at 9 different community colleges. This is an 8.7% increase from academic year 2024. These colleges received a total of $60,395 in funding, and details of that distribution by college are available on page 33 of your agenda. For motorcycle safety programs, the Department of Education established a funding rate of $75 per student for fiscal year 2026. During academic year 2025, 6 technical and community colleges trained 1,157 students, which is up from 3.8% from the previous year, with a combined funding of $86,775. And details of that distribution is available on page 34 of your agenda. Both of these funds were distributed to eligible institutions in early November, and this concludes my informational update, and I stand for any questions.
Any questions for Becky? Impressive numbers, I think. So thank you. For item 2, I'd like to call on Jamie Whittemore, Associate Director of Career and Technical Education, to provide an update on the Perkins Reserve Grant. Associate Director Whittemore.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Rice. Today I'm going to go over the fiscal year 2025 Perkins Reserve Grant and just touch a bit on how each institution that was awarded those funds used the money to benefit student success in CTE. So to give a little bit of background info, Perkins Reserve is a subset of our regular Perkins 5 grant funds. Of the Perkins money Kansas receives for our post-secondary institutions, most of that is passed to the colleges through a formula-based allocation. We hold around 15% back as the Perkins Reserve, and those turn into the Reserve Grant, which is a competitive grant offered to our Perkins eligible institutions. The purpose of the funds is to address specific high priority needs for our state, and of course, to always promote high skill, high wage career pathways. The focus of the grant can change from year to year based on the needs we see in our state. So in fiscal year 25, the focus of the Reserve Grant was reducing barriers to student success, specifically for students in special populations, but the projects we awarded ended up being beneficial to all students in the program. When I say students in special populations, I'm referring to the special populations laid out in the Perkins 5 law, things like economically disadvantaged students, individuals with disabilities, English language learners, students pursuing careers that are non-traditional for their gender, that type of thing. When we talk about reducing barriers to student success, that could be financial barriers, accessibility barriers, language barriers. So it was a pretty broad topic. And as part of the application process, institutions reviewed their data on those students in special populations, paying special attention to which groups had a gap and were not meeting performance targets. So we're looking at if there's a certain group of students that isn't earning credentials, wasn't finding work placement after graduating, that type of thing. And then their projects they submitted for the application were focused on closing those gaps. So in fiscal year 2025, $500,000 in reserve funding was made available to support these projects. We received 10 applications. Those were reviewed by the Perkins Reserve Grant Committee, and we awarded all 10 institutions who applied. Page 35 of your agenda packet shows more detailed information on which institutions were awarded and then what their projects were, what the money was used for. But I'm just going to touch on some highlights that each college spent the money on. So Coffeyville Community College purchased tool carts for their auto tech students to reduce out-of-pocket costs for students entering that program. saved about $1,200 in out-of-pocket expenses per student by having those tools in the classroom and not making the students purchase them to enter the auto tech program. Colby Community College purchased solar photovoltaic learning equipment and a trailer to be able to haul that equipment to the Norton Correctional Facility. So incarcerated students who are nearing the end of their sentence could then complete a certificate in 2 semesters in that solar photovoltaic certificate. And then that is stackable with Colby's alternative energy program. Fort Hays Tech Northwest purchased accessibility equipment for their precision ag program. They had a student who was in a wheelchair that was in the precision ag program. And so they purchased a lift to get the student into a tractor, hand controls to drive the tractor, as well as an ATV and a dual tracked vehicle. So the student was able to go out into the fields and participate fully in the program without having to, leave the wheelchair. Garden City Community College had received a donation to their industrial machine maintenance program. A local industry had given them some airlock assemblies. So they used the reserve funds to purchase accessories to make those assemblies usable, as well as create bases for them. Ultimately, that additional equipment allowed them to expand their program, offering class time beyond normal school hours. Johnson County Community College, their fire science program purchased smaller clothing and protective gear for females or students with smaller frames in the program, encouraging more non-traditional enrollment. Kansas City, Kansas Community College purchased some accessory kits for their welding program at the Lansing Correctional Facility. So incarcerated students used those kits to attain a Certificate B in welding with no additional out-of-pocket costs for them. Neosho County Community College, their auto tech program also purchased tool carts for student use, which eliminated those startup costs, those out-of-pocket costs for students entering the program. Salina Tech purchased welders and additional fume filters for their welding program, and they were able to expand the number of seats available and offer more flexible class times in the evenings. Washburn Tech chose to purchase student sets of tools for their programs that had the highest out-of-pocket costs. So they got student tools for 3 different programs: industrial machine maintenance, machining and manufacturing, and auto tech. And then finally, Wichita Tech purchased a paint sprayer simulator for their aerospace coatings and their aviation maintenance programs. The simulator had programmable languages for speakers of other languages to fully engage with the simulation software. They also used the money to purchase HyFlex video equipment for classrooms. So students who can't be in the classroom during traditional school hours could tune in, or if they had to miss class for any reason, they were able to view the recording. So that is an overview of what our 10 institutions purchased in FY25. We're very pleased with the outcome of the reserve grant and thank the institutions who participated. I will stand for any questions you have.
I have one and then maybe a comment. Would you go through again the Perkins Reserve funds? Are they reserved ahead of time, or are they leftover funds from the first round? Where those funds come from? Are they the same every year, the amount?
It's approximately the same every year. It just depends on the amount we actually get allocated from the federal government. But we do generally take 15% of our post-secondary allocation.
And then the second one, I was interested in the student that they purchased a lift to be able to get up in the tractor, the handicapped student. There is a farmer in our area who was injured as a teenager and is paralyzed from the waist down, but he is one of the biggest and best farmers in the area. And all of his equipment is situated that way. He gets up and down in pickups and trucks and tractors, combines, and it's just amazing to see. And of course, all of the GPS stuff is making it even easier to do those things for handicapped students. But I'm glad to see that didn't keep a student from pursuing that, because this guy up here is amazing, farms thousands of acres and does very well. And so those kind of things can be overcome with the technology that we have today.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? If not, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to call on Crystal Roberts, Associate Director of Workforce Development. You're up next. Please give us an update on the Program Alignment Verification Project.
Thank you,
Crystal.
Chair Rice. Good morning, everyone. For program alignment, I have for you an update on the Institution Program Alignment Verification Project, referred to as IPAV. This is located on page 38 of your meeting packet. To meet the legislative charge designated to the post-secondary TEA, one of the foundational strategic priorities has been to enhance technical education in Kansas through the alignment of specific technical programs to ensure the needs of business and industry are consistently met. In September 2024, Workforce Development staff introduced a project framework for AY26 to ensure technical program compliance with all aspects of the TEA-approved program alignments. This is as a response to identified instances of alignment non-compliance and procedural interpretations that were not always well documented or applied consistently. The IPAV project opened on October 1st, 2024, with a webinar for all eligible institutions following on October 10th. Kansas Community and Technical Colleges, Washburn Tech, Washburn University, and Pittsburgh State were required to submit their IPAV spreadsheet through the SharePoint website by March 1st, 2025. And during this time, Workforce Development staff were able to meet with individual institutions to answer any questions and provide technical assistance as needed. Then Workforce Development staff completed an initial review of all the IPAV spreadsheets for program alignment compliance by June 30th, 2025. Each institution's entries and KEDS, as well as the institution website, college catalog, degree map, and any additional public-facing information that was available were reviewed by comparing said items to the KBOR program alignment maps. The IPAV spreadsheet was used as a tracking system for Workforce Development staff to note requirements or ask questions, and then for institutional staff to provide feedback and show progress on program corrections and updates that were made. During that review, Workforce Development staff noticed some recurrent inconsistencies, and as such, an FAQ document was developed to provide further guidance to the colleges. This document will be a living document, and we will continue to improve it and add things as needed as we go along. Furthermore, a grace period for full program alignment compliance was extended to the AY27 deadline of July 1, 2026, due to variances in each college's internal procedure timeline for program updates. So we wanted to recognize that each institution does have their own timeline, and we wanted to give some grace for that. Please note that the date was incorrectly listed as 2025 instead of 2026 in your issue paper. My apologies for that discrepancy. It is worth mentioning that even though the grace period has been extended, the vast majority of alignment compliance issues have already been corrected by the institutions. Colleges with programs that still need some adjustments to meet alignment have been working with Workforce Development staff to update their programs to meet those requirements. And finally, an IPAV presidential certification letter that was due July 1st was received from all the participating institutions, confirming their intent to align eligible programs. In summary, the IPAV project provided a necessary system-wide recalibration, as well as an opportunity to assess internal procedures for more efficient and effective ways to get the job done to meet the TEA goals. Workforce Development staff have determined that developing an alignment survey for programs that are governed by a third-party accreditation or licensing body could be one way to help expedite realignments and make it possible to complete them more regularly. For instance, with programs such as those in healthcare fields, requirements for accreditation and licensure already guide our program alignment, and any updates by those third-party entities would take priority over the statewide alignment maps. Therefore, these programs provide staff with a starting point for a pilot project, if you will, to optimize the realignment model when applicable to reduce duplication of effort wherever possible. So with that, at this time, no action is required by the TEA, but I would stand for any questions.
Any members have any questions for Crystal? Thank you, Crystal, for your report.
Thank you.
We have already taken care of discussion item 4, and I think that pretty well wraps everything up. So next meeting, I'd like to remind everyone, will be a Zoom meeting on December 18th, beginning at 10 a.m. Is there any further business? Okay, if there's no further business, I declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you for attending today.
Thanks, everyone.